not the worst.
I think Bola was getting upset with me yesterday. On Tuesday, sorry, on Tuesday, not
yes,
yesterday, on Tuesday.
Yes.
Gosh, it was rough, but we're fresh
it's
now.
very important to rest.
Please let everybody out there sleep, or at least try and get 6-7 hours.
After the show, after breakfast.
Right,
So
exactly.
now take your coffee
and listen.
And join the conversation.
And tune in.
Send us messages through WhatsApp. Our WhatsApp number is 0809-444-0981. On WhatsApp, 0809-444-0981. You can also tweet at Smooth91FM. Include this hashtag in your messages so we can see them. It's hashtag Business Express 91.
Yes. There's so much to talk about. Stock market, NNPC, inflation, tourism. All right, let's go. Let's see what we can get here. Dangote Cement shares, lots of buying activity late yesterday afternoon, pushed the market upwards. 1.07% is where we closed. So the market has been doing, all right. So it's, I think, about 4 or 5 days now of consecutive gains. But this is the volatility that we talk about. This is the very definition of volatility. It's a moody market. One week you're up, the next week you're down. Who knows what's going to happen?
Make up your mind.
Exactly. You traders out there. 30,460 points is where we closed yesterday. Top gainer, there were 24 gainers, 16 losers. Sovereign Trust Insurance PLC was our top gainer, up by 10%. Better Glass down by 10% was our top loser. Start with inflation. So we're done with inflation for 2018. I think the average was about 12.15%. But for particularly December, inflation rose, that's year on year, comparing December 2018 to December 2017, to 11.44%. It was 11.28% in November. Main reason for this was food, which has pretty much been the main reason why inflation has been rising all through the year. Food inflation, pretty much because of the Yuletide season, December, festivities. We here at Smooth, we're showing our appreciation with rice and oil to our lovely analysts.
And more.
Yes, and more, So that's pretty much what pushed up the inflation figure. I think food inflation rose to 13.56% for December, up from 13.3% in November. So, I mean, that's core inflation was essentially flat. So not much activity there with core inflation. But looking ahead, as far as the outlook is concerned, what are we looking at to possibly affect inflation going further into this year? It could be election spending, expectations of a higher minimum wage, possibly, depending on whether or not the committee that the president has put together to analyze that comes through. FX, FX was stable in 2018, thanks to the CBN and the window that they opened up for that, and maybe a hike in energy tariffs. We still have the issues with power in the country. So, there's also there could be another devaluation after the election. I don't know. We were at everybody was doing the 10-year challenge on Instagram. I found one very interesting 10-year challenge.
What was yours?
Mine was the FX rates in 2009 versus the FX rates in 2019. So FX dollar was going from between 135 to 145 or so in 2009, and now it's at 365. So that was my 10-year challenge I posted on Instagram yesterday. But the thing is that we're looking at a possible devaluation for next year. That is actually going to affect cost of it's cost pushed inflation. So it's something to look at going forward further into the year. NNPC now, it's election season, so these we talked about the gubernatorial debates on Tuesday of the entire time. So Bloomberg here, former Vice President Abubakar, he says he called the NNPC a mafia, and he says he is going to sell NNPC and privatize it once he becomes president. This is something that's already in the PIB, the Petroleum Industry Bill, that already calls for NNPC to be broken down and sold. We've looked at the performance of the refineries for 2018. They were essentially, they were not there. So the refineries, they were not doing anything. So NNPC has had the issues. They're supposed to have given us a report as to exactly how many liters of fuel Nigerians consumed throughout last year. It's been hovering at about 50 million liters. We don't know if it's increased to 55 or more. The PPRA, Petroleum Price Regulatory Agency, they're supposed to be telling us how much fuel costs when the landing costs. The website has been down for 2-3 years. I think they've moved it to NNPC. They're the ones who are now monitoring that. So there's just a whole lot of opacity in that sector. So Mr. Abubakar is saying that he's going to. Where is the quote? Where is that quote? Yeah, I am committed to privatizing the NNPC, even if they are going to kill me. I will do it. Promises, promises. So we'll see that.
Such passion.
Yeah, I know, right? We'll see where that goes as far as the oil and gas sector is concerned. We need that bill to be passed. We need the petroleum industry bill to be passed. The industry is crying out for it to happen. Local industries, indigenous players in the oil and gas sector, they want support of this bill. We still don't know. Once again, I keep saying it. Ghana passed their own version of the petroleum industry bill in 3 years. We are still, Obasanjo's regime now are going on what, 20 something years. It still hasn't happened. So we still have to wait and see. Arik, let's talk about Arik here. There's a story here that says that Arik is now healthy. Investors are showing interest. This is according to their receiver manager, Mr. Olusegun Opasanya. Apparently, he's a senior advocate of Nigeria. So he's the receiver manager. The receivership is, I think it's an English term. It's regards to bankruptcy. Your company goes into receivership when they are trying to make sure that they are not liquidated, so their assets are not liquidated. So a receiver manager, that's Mr. Olusegun Opasanya, is appointed in order to manage the assets of that particular company that's facing trouble. So we know our Amcon took over Arik because there are a number of issues that they were facing, and well, he's saying that things are looking up. He's saying that staff salaries that have been owed for months have been paid. He says pensions have been paid. He says that the debt has been reduced. I think it was about 300 billion naira that Arik was owing when they were appointed back in February of 2017. He says that debt has come down. He says their fleet maintenance has increased from 8 to 13 aircraft. So this is according to him. He's also saying that investors are starting to show interest again in Arik. The thing though is that this is still supported by Amcon. There is still a harsh environment. If they are to get back into play and return, Amcon says, okay, management, take back your company, you guys get back out there. There's still the issue of ticket prices. We've talked about it on this show. The aviation industry has said that with where ticket prices are, they cannot maintain profitability because their MRO, maintenance, repair, and operations are very expensive because it's in dollars. Now I bring up this dollar devaluation thing again, where we're at 365 and could go to 400. I'm just speculating. Could go to 400 or more later this year after the elections. That is something that airlines have to bear the brunt of when they are maintaining their aircraft overseas, because we don't produce any parts here now.
Yeah,
so you have to say, right.
They would have to pay in foreign currency.
Exactly. So you look at that and you look at where ticket issues are. The issue is, okay, if you resuscitate resuscitate Arik, and you get them back flying again, how do you know they don't fall back into the same problem that they fell in, but that put them in this situation in the first place? So it's good news though. I mean, as far as staff getting paid what they're owed, so that's what's going on there. We'll have to see, but nobody likes to hear it. Again, in fact, another thing, nobody wants to pay higher prices for tickets because most of these flights are delayed. He did also mention that as far as flight cancellations, they were as high as 40% in January of 2017. This is for Arik, but they've been reduced about 4%. So they are managing things. But again, once Amcon takes their hands off and they allow them to go, will they be able to maintain things? That's the question. Messages?
Yes.
Hey, WhatsApp is working. Yes.
It's always working. Moses here says, hello Rotus, what's happening to the CNI leasing from less than 2 naira to 8 naira?
Moses, there are a number of, fundamentals are supposed to drive a number of these stocks, but there's always chatter here and there about whether companies are being taken over, whether they're doing rights issues. I have to look at what's going on with CNI leasing. It's not a stock that I've really paid much attention to, but I think the last news was regarding a rights issue as far as they're leasing vehicles and so on. So not really sure, but a lot of this is speculation. We had a market that was down by 17%, so that's a meteoric rise for the stock.
All right, so Benga Kamu has this one. It says the director of budgets in the presidency, Akebose, stated in the Punch newspapers that the reason Nigerians do not feel the impact of economic growth was because the population growth is greater than economic growth. He also continues to say, so the over 6 trillion borrowed from the pensions fund from the federal government, when are they paying that back? I do not want stories in our age. Are there no ways to punish people who run companies down? Fines, jail time, you name it. The operators of such companies just continue with life while the government takes over the debt. Not good. That's what Benga comes to.
Benga, I'm with you. I'm with you.
And then
but the pension thing, well, okay. Well, but federal government will make sure nobody's pensions are in any trouble. We're good. The pensions are still rising. I think we're like what 8.2 trillion now assets. So it's a decent story.
All right.
Yeah.
So Lawson here says nothing supported devaluation post-elections. Think of external reserve levels. Potential inflows of FPIs post-election. Interest rates might go up, but not a devaluation.
Lawson, you wanna? I've met Lawson twice now.
Okay.
While at the grocery store, and I think we were buying Christmas cards when I ran into you. So Lawson, thanks. Lawson, you wanna take a bet? I don't know. It's looking like it might happen, though, but we'll see. We'll see.
But
and as far as the reserves,
you bought Christmas cards?
Yeah, of course I did.
That's amazing.
All Valentine stuff. I have a family.
So as far as the reserves.
Oh yeah, the reserves. Look, the reserves lost in July of last year were 47 billion. About towards the end of the year, they fell to about 41. I think they've been propped up now to 43, but it's mostly because of euro bonds, borrowing. So, the reserves, it's mostly supported by the reserves have been depleted because the CBN has been trying to support the currency. So that, and then oil prices are barely at the $16 per barrel benchmark that is needed to support the budget. So if oil doesn't do as well as we expect, if that reduces how much dollars we bring into the country, we start rationing again. You never know. You never know. So we have to look at that. Okay. Also, two interesting stories here. Lagos economy records 50 billion naira cash transactions from tourism in December.
Nice.
This is according to Steve Ayorinde, the Commissioner for Tourism, Arts and Culture. But Valentine, I don't know. He says, I was like, how are you recording cash transactions? Because, he says...
The nightlife was right.
Okay, fine.
Rotus?
Nightlife is one.
Yes.
But he says December trends show that unprecedented influx of more than 3 million people entering Lagos in December. With a multi-billion naira spending in hotel lodgings, local inbound flights, taxis, charter transportation. How are you recording cash transactions for all these things?
But do they record shows?
Yeah. I mean, entertainment was definitely there. Okay, so, and he goes on about Lagos being a hub for entertainment, tourism. Okay, but see, I like how I put stories together with a contrast. Going to the national level, the founder of Lufasi Park, never heard of this place, his name is Desmond Majekodunmi, has urged the federal government to implement policies that will ensure sustainable growth of the tourism industry. He also goes on to mention Lagos. He says our beaches, he talks about the beach areas, are not being developed. The access roads to the beaches are not being developed and the beaches are not protected. We are losing a lot in Lagos, for instance, to coastal erosion. Nothing is being done about it. If you think about the roads like Elegushi Beach now, right? That is a road that's supposed to reduce congestion.
Yes.
Nothing's happened.
I agree.
Nothing's happened.
We have a couple of them along between here and Aja.
Right.
And imagine that people have to travel all the way to Ekpe before they get to a decent beach.
Exactly.
So that is a challenge.
So you put these two stories together. Lagos, 50 billion transactions, tourism is rising, and then you now put on the national level, they're saying, well, no, the government needs to institute more policies.
Papi sends us one on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
If I hear Mr. Ayomide, proof, please.
Exactly.
Proof.
Cash. I don't know. Again, you should be taxing all these people to be able to know what's coming in. But anyway, that should do it as far as our stories are concerned.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to Tech Friday tomorrow.
Yes, indeed.
Lagos, hit up Rotus on Twitter at Rotan Quotes. That's KWOT at the end. And then Rotan.
Yes, ROTANKWOT. There you go.
All right, look forward to 7:30. We'll bring you the flagship show. It's called Freshly Pressed 981. Detailed analysis of our newspaper stories. This is Smooth Breakfast.